Hey guys, this episode of Untold Stories is sponsored by BitCasino and Shopping.io. You'll hear more about them later on this episode.
What is up? I love it. What is up, everyone? I am Charlie Shrem, and you are listening and watching Untold Stories, where twice a week together we get to dive deep with some of crypto's most influential leaders to really understand how this movement came to be and where we're going. And today we get to talk about some of my favorite topics like privacy, secrecy, zero chain. And we're here with my guest today, Saswata Basu. You are a part of the Zero Chain project. Actually, what's your role in Zero Chain?
Well, first of all, I'm honored to be on your show, Charlie, and glad to be here. The role that I have, I guess, is I'm the founder and the CEO of Zero Chain, and we've been at this project for 3.5 years. So we've been grinding away for the last 3.5 years. We are certainly young in the crypto space. If you look at
No,
some
you're
of the
not.
others.
You're not. I was doing the research, and now, especially where we are now, you're like an OG project now. 2018, you guys have been
Yeah.
through, when you go through a bear market and then you're in a bull market again, you become OG status, in my opinion.
Okay, well, that's great. Yes, yeah, we have been through bear markets. We now are very lean. We are totally distributed. I think we are probably more globally distributed in terms of our dev team than any of the other projects. We have been lucky enough to acquire talent elsewhere other than Silicon Valley. So yeah, so we can sustain any bear markets.
You're a serial entrepreneur. You've crazy experience in privacy, data security. You have a PhD and a master's in electronic engineering from UCLA, the school that I couldn't get into. Um, Distributed systems, secure sharing, blockchain, like really from a attracting talent point of view, I could see why a lot of people would want to be working on this project all the time and being involved. But at the same time, what you're doing, and I'd like for you to kind of get more into it. You didn't pick the lowest hanging fruit. You picked almost like the highest hanging fruit of the killer applications of what we want to do with blockchain technology.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the hardest project I ever started. And I said to myself, is this I mean, this is gonna be difficult. But if you only live once, right? So you want to do something difficult, you want to do something that's groundbreaking and something that helps humanity. So we think with the decentralized storage, I mean, if you look at the market, it's huge. And now everybody can be, it's basically Uberizing cloud storage, and everybody can earn a piece of the pie that the big three cloud providers are earning. So it's a good endeavor. And it also gives the people who are storing data a lot of benefits that otherwise wouldn't have, including enterprises. I mean, we're now competing with essentially the performance of an enterprise app on a traditional cloud. We are better architecturally, high performance. Obviously, you have the privacy, the blockchain issue, blockchain aspects. But going back, I mean, we had to start ground up. We had to do the blockchain. We had to do the storage platform on top of it, and then we built an app showing that how it all works, so that other apps can kind of copy what we have done. So it has been it's a lot of work as opposed to forking code, and I can always fork something and be able to build on it and then have an application on top of it and go to market. But that's why you see very few storage layer one, layer two
There's
application out
almost none. Yeah.
there.
And some of the ones that have been working on this for years are still working on it. And it's a very like a lot of the technology doesn't work. And sometimes like the technology won't work, but there's a lot of companies, a lot of people working on this. So why is this though so important? Why is decentralized cloud storage so important for like, decentralized finance, for example, which seems to be what everyone, where our all our locked value is going towards right now. Like I don't know how many trillions of dollars is going to be locked into decentralized finance soon. Why is like decentralized cloud storage? Why is this so integral for it?
So there are I think they're kind of a little bit separate markets, but they're intertwined in a way. It is, you're locking in value. Now you're locking in value in terms of a hard asset, which is storage. Uh, is it easy to pull out the tokens from DeFi today? Yes, you can unlock now, but you will get some penalty. But it's very hard to pull out your data from a decentralized storage platform. So we think we're gonna have a much more stable platform in terms of the token aspect, because everybody will be locking and staking tokens in order to consume and provide storage. So in that sense, it has the DeFi aspects, but it also has the physical asset that was missing in the crypto space.
What is that?
The physical asset is the storage, so your data. So your on the consumption is the data, all right? Your personal data is going to be stored on, is going to be distributed over servers, and for the miners, they're offering their server capacity, and these are all in data centers. So these are typically in cities. So we have a lot of applications that are perfect for storing data that are high performance in cities, and also for data localization where you have to store data within your city. So for enterprises, this is perfect. Anytime you back up your data, you need a backup that's data localized, and this would be our perfect solution for them. And I think we are primed with us. There are some of the features that we have is perfect for NFTs. We have features that allow mutable NFTs or multiple data assets associated with an NFT. We also allow video NFTs, which are high performance. You need high performance storage in order to showcase your NFT, such as a video NFT.
Well, it used to be like the focus was having all the metadata be decentralized, but the data was still kept in various centralized locations. But now you actually have a way to have like all of that data uh, all distributed all over the world, and those who have extra space can get incentivized, and you have a whole like token economic model built into it to maintain that incentivization. Um, how do you make sure that like isn't it it's like a chicken and egg problem, right? You have to have enough people that are willing to that need stuff stored, and you also to have enough users that are enough of a decentralized like in enough of a decentralized way distributed all over the world that are willing to open up their space and then be willing to accept this token first. And then the thing is, when I'm doing the research, I'm seeing that there's like a beautiful, healthy ecosystem out there of actually people doing this and using it.
Yes. I mean, in any ecosystem, you have basically players that are going to build the road, and you need people to drive on the road, right?
Yeah, of
So you need
course.
both people who are provisioning or providing the service. So we are incentivizing what we call blobbers or storage providers. And and these are discussions we're having with some of the bigger cloud providers to have something like a click and buy model where they can provide that storage capacity in data centers. So it's because we want to be high performance, it cannot be on
Yeah,
in
so it
a
has to
consumer
be.
home.
You
Yeah.
can't just tell people like, oh, it's not as good, but it uses blockchain. It has to be on par, if not better,
Yeah,
than
it will be
whatever
better.
traditionally was being used. It's better. You're building it from the ground up, and you have that like incentivization model. But what's the no one like you don't go to any of these other like centralized or even decentralized storage, and there's like a focus on privacy. Why and which is amazing. There's a focus on individual user rights, which is what I love, and that
Yes.
privacy. It's not anonymity or that other BS. How do you kind of define like individual user rights versus the need for like to maintain integrity of the whole?
Yeah. So I think there are attractive elements for decentralization. One is censorship, right? Nobody
Yep.
can take, nobody can shut down your data access, which we have seen that happen in 2021,
That's literally the
2020.
whole point of Bitcoin and blockchain is censorship
Yes,
resistance. No one can take your
exactly.
money. No one can
So
take your
that's
data
number one,
information.
right?
Yeah.
For certain apps, you don't want AWS to prevent access to your data. Number two, you don't want privacy is very important. You don't want AWS to hand over the keys to the US government, which it does. The US government has absolute right to look at your data. So the data is on our platform is owned by you. So you're the owner of the data. So that's so those are the two primary reasons for decentralization.
It's the
In
most
terms of what
important thing right
differentiates
there.
our platform is we do private data sharing. So you can now actually share data easily with other entities that you want to share.
Did you see the news recently? Actually, how the FBI set up like a signal type of chat app, and that was how they attracted all. They took this huge like drug bust and underground. Like just the other day, they set up like a fake version of WhatsApp or Signal or something, and then they oh my god, it was so brilliant. That's the only reason I'm talking about it. It was so smart by how the government did this, and I know it's crazy we're saying the government's smart, but they actually got criminal influencers to go
Mhm.
out into the underground world and like tell everyone to use this app. And then they got everyone using the app, and then it was just a big honeypot, and they busted them. So like, it's very smart.
Interesting.
Like,
I haven't read
yeah, it
that.
was
I
pretty
gotta read
cool.
that up. Yeah. Wow.
What's so like? How did you get into all this? How did you get into Bitcoin and crypto? Who are some
Yeah.
of the first people? I could ask this question again because COVID is over. Who was the first people that you met like in the space? And do you still kind of hang around meetups and stuff like that?
Not so much the meetups because in California it's
Still all
it's
closed, yeah.
still it's not as much as probably like in Florida, but I think we I started in 2017, mid 2017 when I got together with a professor of computer science in San Jose State, and we just hit it up and said, "Hey, let's do this." I mean, he has been exposed to the crypto because he was he did. I think he was in one of the labs in France and Switzerland, and was got that crypto vibe then, and
Yeah.
he worked in cryptology labs. So he was aware of Bitcoin. He did some work there, so we hit it off. And my from my perspective, I was prior to blockchain, I was in IoT with farmers, right? And I said, hey, why not have this data and sell this on a
Wait,
blockchain basis, right? They can
IoT for
earn extra
farmers?
income. What's that?
IoT for farmers? And what were you saying?
Yeah,
I interrupted you.
yeah. So the farmers, they don't earn much. Most of them depend on subsidy. But if they were to earn money, they can sell their data, which is a lot of value because people want to know what's happening with the crops and be able to buy and
Oh, I
sell
never
crops
thought of this
futures.
before.
Yeah. So
Data
that's
is
an
a
extra source of income for them. And I said, well, that'll be great for farmers to have an extra source of income because they are the ones that do not have as much revenue source. But at that time, 2017, we didn't have there weren't any fast blockchain platforms. There weren't any storage platforms to store this IoT data, and everything was expensive. So we designed this platform for a fast blockchain platform, and on top of it, a fast storage platform that is lower cost and be able to store this data and sell this data.
yeah, because agricultural data is just changing constantly, changes by the wind.
Yeah,
No pun
and
intended.
people bet on it in futures, right? So there's a whole ecosystem that
Oh my
actually is built on trading futures on the pricing of
So in that
orange and all
situation,
that.
I could understand why that privacy is so important because they need to protect the data that they own
Yes,
here. You don't want it's this is you could have corporate espionage, for example.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah. I
like
mean,
what
you want
type
to
of data are we talking about here? Agricultural data. Like what if I was a farmer and I was making money, what type of data could I sell?
your sensor data. So you could have sensors that tells you the water consumption, the weather. From that, you can derive what kind of crop you will get. It's pretty solid science in terms of the interpretation of what the weather pattern would determine the yield. And based on the yield, you can determine what the supply demand is. Based on supply demand, you can determine the price. So that's how
hyper efficient market. Yeah.
yeah, that's how. So you get better input, better, so it's basically at the end of the data, right? If you have access to data, you can make better decisions, future decisions.
During this, maybe a little bit off topic, but during like a lot of part of the pandemic, um, for some reason, a bunch of like Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal, they were always pointing to lumber prices, lumber futures, and things like that. I know it's a little bit different than agricultural data, but people that are trading, futures of lumber, um, what kind of data are they getting at it? You have these, these big companies that are chopping down trees that have certain patterns too, that they have certain data and things like that. How do they predict how much lumber they need? It's just, I'm kind of like talking out loud here. I didn't know so much goes into it. And then there's so much like all of these data rails, I feel like are just PVC and duct tape.
Yeah, absolutely. You need data input, and there are models that, based on those models, you basically know what the supply demand is. And once you know what the supply demand would look like, then you know what the future price is going to be. So, like we are working with Ocean Protocol, and they are in the enterprise buying and selling data. So that's something they would like to have a private data sharing platform, because they don't want to be liable as well to holding that data that is being sold on their platform. So that's something we're doing for them, and it'll be basically done through us, in the sense that you store the data, you have private keys that you share it with your partners on subscription
Before
basis, and they get access to that data.
before this technology, blockchain technology existed, how would you be able to do like how would you be able to build a data sharing platform that de-risks all parties where the keys don't exist to only the data like creator or owner? It in my head that was, I mean, how do you do fault tolerance like that pre Bitcoin, pre blockchain, pre Satoshi?
It's tough. I think you have hardware keys and things like
Yeah.
that. Right now,
Physical
you don't
keys
need
built
hardware.
into laptops, things
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
exactly.
And
So you
people
kind
still
of,
use
in
those.
our case, we distribute the keys, and so because we stored the data in a distributed fashion, no one server has the entire content of your data. Unlike some of the other decentralized platforms, we are actually totally decentralized in the sense that we take your file and split it up into pieces, and they're distributed over servers, and therefore the keys are also distributed. So you can't really get access to the key to unlock those data. So
You
that's one. Yeah.
No, what's two?
Now, two is, we also have aside from data, we also invented a technology where we split the keys, to protect your token assets, because I got hacked with SimSwap, and I thought there must be a better way to protect your token
There
assets.
has to be a
So
better way. Not just your token assets, but your whole lives are based on these phone numbers.
yes.
There's no reason that we shouldn't have more ownership of our phone number.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, for tokens in our zero wallet product, we basically split the data between your phone and laptop, which you carry pretty much all the time. So if you want to send data, then you could use this feature where you split the key between two platforms, your mobile and your desktop, and be able to send data only. And this is on the client side, no server. It's not a two-factor authentication with a server like how you have today. It's basically on your client, two client devices, and basically combining the keys and be able to send a transaction.
And you have already customers, users, businesses already using it. What's great is that like you said, you partnered with Ocean Protocol. So now you have other industry folks that you guys are all working together. I saw you guys partnered with Chainlink for oracles. Let's talk about
Yes.
oracles for 1 second.
It's
Why are they so
interesting.
important?
Sergey and I, we started pretty much the same time in
Oh, it's awesome.
2017. Yeah, and we raised tokens around the same time. He raised earlier than mine, and then of course he has been with that company for I think 2-3 years. So they already had a developed product, which they just needed to get awareness, which is sort of where we are right now. We have now close to getting our mainnet together and going live, and now it's just getting awareness for people to use it. So, but we also partnered with Magma and Facebook, and it's been I think that will be a great partnership as well. For another project, but it's adjacent to storage. It's basically a bandwidth marketplace, basically using our Wi-Fi to offload cellular
Yeah, I
networks
like
and give
that too.
connectivity.
So we were talking about SIM swapping earlier, and I've been SIM swapped just
Mhm.
recently, actually, a few months. It's always happening. Um,
You're like a hot target.
I don't care. No, it's funny. My wife got SIM swapped, and then I remember the hacker even like texted me from her number saying like, "I want 30 Bitcoin, and I'll give you her number back." You've gotten SIM swapped. My best friend Michael Turpin, one of my close friends, Michael Turpin, got SIM swapped.
Yeah, I know Markel
Yeah,
Turpin. Yeah,
he's we're all getting lawsuits, trying to, it's craziness. There
yeah.
has to be a better solution. One of the solutions that I was telling you before the show, but I wanted to everyone else to hear it, is there's a great cell phone company called Efani, EFANI.com. It's started by a Bitcoin OG because himself was getting SIM swapped. And he's just a layer on top of any of the four. So you sign up with him, it's like $100 a month, and then you get to choose your cell phone network that you want to be on, whether it's Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, or whatever in the US. And you also have global roaming, unlimited, everything, data, text, everything. But the beauty of it is he runs his cell phone company the way cell phone companies should be run. You have a VIP support person, and he knows you and your voice, and he's the only person who can port your number away or do anything to. So that's how it should be. Your phone number is an asset, right?
Mhm.
These cell phone companies are the worst. They suck. I know you consulted for some of them. I'm sorry if I'm insulting some of your friends.
Well, I don't know which one I consulted.
Okay,
I
good.
don't remember. I don't think. I mean, I worked with them. I mean, they were the customers. Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
good
at
point.
some
Good
point. Yeah,
point.
in my previous career, yeah, I was in the telecom business, and that's how we're actually on the Magma project. We are working with cell phone companies on offloading carriers.
Hey guys, the Coin Gaming IO folks are back at it with another amazing promo. This time they're giving away 3 Teslas from April 19th to June 27th. It's so cool. bitcasino.io/Charlie. There's so many incentives and promos and things that they've been giving away over the past few months to my listeners. But now, if you go to bitcasino.io/Charlie and you play their game Live Crash, and you can get in the top 10 in all 10 tournaments, you will be entered in to win one of 3 Teslas. So all you got to do is go in there, play some slots, play some games, get into the top 10 in any of the games, and you'll be entered to win one of 3 Teslas. I mean, how cool is that? They've been giving away stuff at St. Patty's Day, at Valentine's Day. They're constantly, we're always doing so many amazing promos. bitcasino.io/Charlie. You will not be disappointed. The most important part of our Bitcoin and crypto industry is being able to not only earn money in crypto, but also be able to spend it, earn rewards in crypto, and keep that revolution going, keep the cycle going of all of us together. Well, my partners at shopping.io are offering just that. Multi-tiered discounts up to 10% where you can spend your crypto anywhere that you're already buying everything already, Amazon, Walmart, eBay, but use your crypto to spend it, earn back cash back, earn back rewards. And not only that, but if you go to untoldstories.link/shopping.io, you get an additional, on top of every other discount, an additional 2%. So you can go there now and shop and get 12% off of everything you're already buying anyways, and use your crypto. You can ship to almost any country in the world. Fantastic, fantastic company. Make sure you check them out at untoldstories.link/shopping.io. You've worked on a lot of different cloud platforms, a lot of different platforms that have come and gone over time. Um, you mentioned that your mainnet is going live, and I want to ask you what you think. It's a general question, like the future of Ethereum is, because it seems like what's happening with Ethereum lately, especially the last 6 months, is it's become this platform where it's like a holding tank, where like companies will just have like a token or whatever, and then they end up launching their own mainnet, and then they moving on. Is everyone, and it seems as everyone should always build their own blockchains, and we should be in like a multi-chain agnostic world. But what happens to the future of Ethereum in that respect?
Well, I don't know their token economics, but I believe, I mean, part of it is what the inflation rate is. But the consumption rate, I'm pretty clear about that. It will continue to be consumed primarily because we need a bridge
Oh, yeah, good
between,
point.
especially for companies, projects like us that do not have centralized exchanges. We are dependent on decentralized exchange, and you have Uniswap, we have now Bancor. The they are we need those platforms. Otherwise, we're dependent on centralized exchange, and there aren't that many good ones, and it's hard to get on a good exchange. So that's primary reason I think people will continue to have um, uh, you know, the Ethereum as a kind of a tank that you said. But there may be a layer two solutions that will probably limit all the transaction that's going through today. But as transactions increase, maybe there won't be as big of an increase, but people will continue to hold Ethereum. In terms of token value, I think it's a good bet that it's
Does
going to hold.
Ethereum make it easy to move, like to plug and play your own blockchain into it?
Yeah, so we will have a bridge. So even though we will have our own native blockchain for obvious reasons, in order for practical purposes, because otherwise you can't scale. Um, and we will have a bridge to Ethereum, primarily for exchanging the tokens to other tokens. It's more a DeFi situation. Um, we have DeFi incentives on Bancor for liquidity, um, and for exchange. So I think that's going to continue to exist for a
We're
long
gonna
time.
have this multi-chain, multi-agnostic token world that'll
Yes.
just all exist between each other. How do you guys uh uh deal with governance? How do you resolve disputes and reach consensus? Because some projects, like even on basic governance stuff, they have trouble reaching the consensus altogether.
Yeah. So we have a governance protocol. We haven't implemented it yet. That probably will be implemented for the next release, which is Kilimanjaro, year from
Oh, I
Fuji
love the
release.
names, yeah.
Yeah, it's all mountains, right? So, well, mountains are hard to climb, but you get a thrill after you do it. So
Yeah.
in Fuji, we're basically not going to have view change. We're not going to have governance, but that will be in development right after we release it. And then a year from that, we will shift toward the governance model. And the governance we have is a ping pong model. It's a very simple model that will continue. Basically, you bid on changes, and it's a yay or nay, and you continue on until somebody wins out in terms of how much tokens they put in.
How do you define like decentralization, or like how do you define a blockchain that is actually censorship resistant or resistant against attacks, where it's like someone is attempting to like censor someone or something or whatever? Because I used to think, I kind of still do, that it's a spectrum. There are projects that launch centralized, there are things that launch, even Ethereum has had its rough spots, and it's like a path of decentralization. And like over time, projects get more and more decentralized. Is that still like an accurate way to describe it, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of projects that blockchain projects that are centralized, unfortunately, and we're gonna be decentralized from the beginning to some extent. Certain things are gonna be centralized, like the governance.
Yeah, and there's like a
Uh,
roadmap for it. Yeah.
That's right. So for a year, because well, there are a couple of reasons. One, we don't want we want to make sure all the bugs are out.
Yeah.
If and we want to improve the platform, and we want to make sure the network doesn't get taken over. So those are things we want to consider when we go into decentralized model completely, where we allow like view change. View change means anybody can stake tokens to get into the active set and be part of the miners. That's something we're going to allow after a year after we launch. So
It's so cool because if like a medical company, adopts this or whatever, and I'm a patient of that company, it could be really spectacular.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have collaborative feature on our platform. So you go to a doctor, he uploads the data for you, but you own the data and you have the rights to the data and you can send it to anybody you want. So, but you give him access to upload the data. So we have a collaboration feature on our platform. So for medical companies,
It's so
it's
cool.
perfect. Yeah. So
I
you won't
was,
have this HIPAA issues.
yeah. Well, oh my God, it's like, well, everyone was asking me all the time if I've gotten a vaccine. It's like a HIPAA violation. It's like
Yeah.
that should be my private,
Yeah.
yes, everyone should be getting vaccinated, but it's like I feel like the conversation shouldn't be about whether or not you get vaccinated. It's, do companies and governments have the right to get to ask you even that question? I think that for me is like my biggest thing. Like, you have no right to ask me whether I've been vaccinated or not.
That's
Other
right.
than that, but at the same time, for the collective, we should all be getting vaccinated. But we don't need to talk about coronavirus anymore. I don't want to talk about coronavirus. But on
Yeah.
the health front, when I did go to my doctor last week, he kind of like, at the end of whenever we talk, he like gives me a little bit like of a little tutorial on the human body, explains things to me, how our body works, until he goes to his next patient. He's explained to me that our bodies are constantly getting attacked, constantly, like all the time. There's probably something right now trying to attack my body. My body's fighting it. And like, that's why when you get really, really sick, you have to be careful of getting something else that you are susceptible actually. So when I actually had coronavirus like 8 months ago, I got a really bad sinus infection because my antibody, my immunity soldiers were fighting somewhere else, as the doctor was explaining to me. And I'm bringing this back to a question. How prevalent is like ransomware and hacking for some of these large institutions that are constantly putting out data? Is this like where it's like a constant, like our bodies, or is it one-off type of situations?
No, I think hospitals, especially older hospitals, are vulnerable because their IT is not
It's shit.
up to par, and so they're always vulnerable to ransomware. And but it's required by also law that you put your data locally, right? So that is a problem. It's kind of an oxymoron, but
Wait, say that again? Yeah, I heard of this.
yeah. So you have to have your data locally. So you can't really, you have to have one set locally. They don't have a choice. If their backup is not secured enough, people can access to it, and that's what people do. Most of the hackers go to the least resistance. That's why replication is bad. That's why we do not replicate data. We basically stripe the data across servers. There's no way you can get access to the entire data.
What do you
set.
mean? What are other companies? What does that mean, replication of data versus like striping the data?
So, like for instance, Filecoin replicates data. IPFS replicates data, which means I can, at a node, I have the data, right? That's why all the data that's sent to IPFS or Filecoin are generally public data. They're not like for private. But Ciatec, StorageJ, and us, we stripe the data. So when striping means I take your file and I split it up into parts, and then each part is given to one server. So each individual server do not have the entire data content. So if you have a file that says "Hello World," you may have the letter H. Some other server may have the letter E, right? But they don't have "Hello World." So that makes it very secure. So even if I have your private key, encrypted key, it's going to be hard for me to go to all the servers and get the keys and be able to decrypt that word.
Wow. I never knew that there was the difference. That is so brilliant. And it
And
completely
it's
makes sense.
and it's efficient. In that sense, we are actually greener than any of the other storage platform. Now, green is a big deal with Elon Musk, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's a
So
stupid question, but wouldn't like replicating the data make it easier to access all the time? Whereas if it's kind of all over the world, then it's like what's local and you have to access it. What if something's turned off?
So we split the way we, and this is, by the way, it all depends on the client.
Of course.
So if
okay. So the client can choose all of these various metrics. Okay, variables. Okay,
right.
Cool.
So it's very flexible platform. So you can choose 10, 15 erasure code. So which means I split the file into 15 parts, but I need only 10 to reconstruct the data. So I spread this. So think of it as a CDN as well.
It's
so
almost like the way BitTorrent kind of used to work back in the day, where you like have to grab, but there was still like replication of data.
That's right. But they BitTorrent, they replicate.
Yeah, they did replicate. Yeah, I guess you're right. But so this is different. So this is like 10 out of 15.
Yes.
Or something
So
like
now, and the beauty of this is that it's parallel. So now I'm drawing. So think of, I have a 10 megabyte file, right? Today, you send a 10 megabyte file to a single server. Instead, what we do is we split it up into 10 parts. So you send it to 10 servers, only 1 megabyte file. So it is almost 10x faster. Although there's some, computation that we do, which has latency, but in terms of raw mechanics, it's faster in terms of the speed of
all the
upload and
data?
download.
Do I get all of the data of who can access it, and then when they accessed it, for how long, what, and all the data? So, for example, like this podcast episode, right? This is ultimate value to me. We're recording this. This is financial value to me.
We can do an NFT on this particular podcast, a live stream event, right? And this is something we're gonna do for.
We should do this. This sounds cool. Yeah. What's your idea?
Yeah. Well, we're doing this for another, a live stream event, which is gonna be huge.
Sure.
But basically, we can actually store this live stream event on our platform, and it can be an NFT that you can sell later. It can be a private NFT for only your subscribers that can get to view this data in order to bid on it. So there are multiple ways you can go about a business model for your podcasts. And it's
blowing my mind right now. We're going to do this.
And we have multi-pair pools. So your NFT can have permanency.
I want to give things away. I want to give more things away. When I was seeing my friends in Bitcoin Miami, all the guests of the show, I was just giving them, taking pictures. I like giving things away to my listeners. Like I tell my sponsors, make sure you're giving things away. They all are. I love this. I want to do something like this because of, I think loyalty is a big thing. And my listeners are so loyal to me. I want to like kind of reward that loyalty back as a thank you, instead of just, sending bagels and stuff like that.
Well, what you could do is sell the NFT and sell, and whatever money whatever tokens you get, you can give it to your listeners for that.
There you go. It's a beautiful thing.
Subscribers. I mean, that could be an idea. I'm just thinking aloud here. You could, this could be a private event, and you have X number of subscribers that viewed the event. You could, and then somebody buys it, and you could give the proceeds to some of your viewers. So
we've touched on so many topics today, where this technology and what we're trying to do, and what businesses and institutions, financial institutions, medical institutions, government are doing in a scrappy way. Here, this technology like allows us to do it better with zero chain. And Saswata, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I heard a really nice positive affirmation I wanted to read to everyone before I get into my weekend. Hopefully everyone is going to have a nice week or weekend, depending on when you're listening to the show. But to those who are listening to the show, may you have health and wealth. The world is full of a lot of negativity right now, but there is good to be found if we train ourselves to look for it. Keep on whatever it is that you are pursuing in life. Do not give up. Don't forget your goals and dreams. Stay above the toxicity of the world. I know it's a daily challenge, but it's very, very easy and very doable. For those who are listening, I wish you the very, very best. Saswata Basu, thank you so much for coming on Untold Stories today. And I wish everyone health, wealth, and happiness. And I'll see you all next week.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie. Glad to be here.
Bye-bye.
Wonderful. Thank you.